Hey there, I'm Laura A. Grace, and I am a writer and reviewer here at Beneath the Tangles, and I am so excited that you are here. We are continuing the ABCs of Shojo Manga. I am so excited, and if you've missed the previous two videos, I will leave a link here in the cards so you can go check it out. Please do. It has been so much fun. Today's video is all about the letter C. We are finding Shojo Manga that start with the letter C, and this was an interesting letter because there were a few manga titles that came to mind. Specifically, is it Cardcaptor Sakura? And I've never read that. I know it's a magical girl, and I was looking at some of the resources or online sources that I use, and I'm like, they're not specifying if it is a shoujo. So I did not include that for today's video, even though I feel like that is such an iconic manga, and if it is a shoujo, it rightfully deserves to be mentioned, even though I've never read it, embarrassingly so. But it's interesting because of this series. I'm like, well, I really am wanting to try and pick it up because I feel pretty confident that my library should have it. And speaking of my library, one of the titles that I wanted to feature today, it didn't show up on time, but I do want to do an honorable mention of it because it just sounded really good when I was reading the online preview and when I was reading the blurb. The name of that manga is Captive Hearts, and this is available in paperback and digitally. It is by the same mangaka that did Vampire Knight. I have not read Vampire Knight, though I have read her other manga called Shuriken and Pleats, which is really good. I really enjoyed that. What I found interesting about this manga is that I've seen it before in passing, but I never knew what it was about until when I was reading the blurb, I was like, this sounds so very good, and I'm hoping I can get the rest of the series to actually read it for myself because I'm super curious. But it's about this young lady. She, I guess, grew up mainly in China, and she lives in Japan now, and this young man enters her life, and when he sees her for the first time, he basically prostrates himself before her, starts calling her princess, and he comes to find out that her family or a dragon god or something actually cursed his family, and that they basically become servants and bow down to them like a master to the girl's family. But the girl doesn't really know Japanese, and from the preview I read of chapter 1, she is just so very sweet. And so I feel like I'm not sure if the main guy is the perspective that we're getting through the manga or if it's the girl, but I did like both characters because I don't know, I guess I thought that the girl was going to be maybe snotty but she's so very sweet and so very kind. And the guy, I believe, grew up in a very wealthy family, so now he's trying to adjust to being this servant, forceful servant, not because the girl is demanding him to be, but because of the curse that's been placed on his family. I'm not really sure if he's going to try and set out to break this curse. It does seem from the first chapter that he is sort of maybe getting feelings for her, not just because he is the manservant to her, but genuinely wants to know more about her because he just wants to. And that seems to be a continuing premise for the rest of the story, and just it's supposed to be a romance, so I'm assuming that there will be some kind of romantic thing that starts happening and occurring, and it sounds really good. At first, when I read the blurb, I was like, I don't know about this. This sounds a little bit, I don't know, it just sounded outside of what I would usually pick up. But then when I checked out the preview, and I really like the main girl very much, and the main guy seems pretty funny, and just I feel sort of bad for him because I'm like, he just got placed in this situation, and his dad's like, do your best to be the best manservant you can be. Dad, I don't know if that was the right thing for you to say to him. I mean, I get that they have no control of it, and it's just been their way of life basically for every family member that's interacted with this family, the girl's family. But I'm still like, oh, poor guy. So I did want to do an honorable mention of that because it just sounded really good, and I'm very curious about that manga. I guess going into our official number 1 here, I'm going to go ahead and start with Cutie and the Beast. I have not read this manga in quite some time, but I was very excited that my library had the first volume. I've read volume 1 and volume 2. This is an age gap romance, but the story is so sweet and very wholesome, and I very much enjoyed how the age gap was handled because she is 18 and our main guy, his name is Kuga. I forget how old he is, but there's a pretty decent age gap between them. But the way that what's her name? Momoka? Yeah, Momoka, how she really seeks out her parents and their permission to be with Kuga and to date him, and just how her family is involved. She doesn't do this as like a rebellious act or anything. Like, she's just very conscious and mindful of her family, but she's also very, very mindful of her feelings. And I did like how she, trying to think of what to say without going into spoilers, but I really like just how she handled it. I guess that's all I can say without going into spoilers. But this story is about this young girl. She absolutely loved Kuga as a professional wrestler. He's like the bad guy in the wrestling ring, and so he's always looking like he's doing the bad thing, and nobody really likes him, but she's like absolutely loves him, and she decides to write fan mail to him. I don't recall why, but she sends it, and they start talking via basically what is the equivalent of Twitter, and they meet up, and they have a very great special moment, and he ends up doing something, nothing bad, but it triggers this series of events where they both really want to get to know each other, and that unfolds in the first volume. I really love the end of this volume as well, but I really liked both of these characters, and just that the age gap between them, because I feel like that can be very taboo for many people, and I will say for me, it really depends on how the age gap is done, if I like it or not, and I did really enjoy how this one was handled. Sorry, I feel like I already said that, but the romance was very, very cute and very, very wholesome. It's just a very sweet story, and the art is absolutely gorgeous. Hold on, I don't know if that's a spoiler, so let's go back. But here's a really good page right here, a good scene. And there's some great little comedy moments. And Kuga does have a pet bunny, and it is so precious because he's so buff and muscular, but he loves this little baby bunny that he has. And his friends are really cool. Like, here's some of his, or one of his friends right here. Kuga's a really great friend, and I really just like his interactions. Like, these are with different fans, so he's like really, well, that is his friend. But look right here. Like, he even when he goes out and they have like these, I guess, like meet and greets, he still sort of stays, or he does stay in true form of his character. But when he's with Momoka, you see this really soft side, and that he's not soft spoken, but he really is just a big softy underneath everything, and just even the public persona that he has to have for his job. It is very, very cute, and I would definitely recommend it. I need to get the final volume because I think this is only a 3-volume series, and I really did enjoy volume 2. There's just so many good things. You see more of the family, you meet the dad, and you see interactions between him and Kuga. It was very good. So talking about this, I'm like, I need to see if I can get my hands on volume 3 because I did really, really enjoy this. For our second one that I'm going to spotlight for the letter C is Cactuss Secret. This is a 4-volume series, and my library has had this series for a long time, since I've actually been living here and attending that library. They've had this series, and I all the time. I even at one point picked it up, and then I just didn't have time to read it and put it back. But I was like, you know what? For this series, we're reading Cactuss Secret, and it was very, very cute. It was a good read. I think I read it like on a Sunday. I think it was the day after I was like recovering from a really bad stomach sickness or stomach virus. And I love how the covers are of this series, by the way. I love the pink, the blue, the yellow, and the green. Like, these just really screams springtime vibes, which is really cool because I didn't make that connection until just now. But Cactuss Secret is about this girl right here. She has had a huge crush. I don't know if that was her childhood friend. No, just a classmate. But she's had a huge crush on him for so long, but he is so clueless and doesn't realize. And when I say so clueless, he has to be one of the most clueless heroes I have ever read about. Like, this is one time that I'm just like, oh my goodness. I'm like, can you please see it? I mean, I could think of another manga with a really clueless main character, but this one, I felt like even when she was direct, he was just not getting it. I'm like, you gotta get it. So anyway, she starts to become really frustrated with him, and so he starts calling her, I think it's Cactus. Yeah, he starts calling her Cactus because she just gets really grumpy and annoyed with him because she's just frustrated, like I said, that, you know, she really likes him and he's just not getting it. But Valentine's Day is coming, and she actually uses him as a, like, confession partner. He doesn't realize that he is the one that she wants to confess to, and it's such a sort of like embarrassing, blushing moment for her. I enjoyed this series overall. It was really hard seeing how clueless our hero was, though. Like, I just was like, please, please, please. So definitely be mindful of that. But the series itself was good. I really loved how this series took a different turn than I expected, because while I sort of at first was a little bit sad that our main girl, like, she changed so much of herself to try and catch his eye. Now, he didn't realize, but she thought if she dyed her hair or if she wore more makeup or if she dressed a certain way that she would finally get his attention. And so I was a little bummed by that when like we discover that information, but she grows into where she's just herself. Like, even there's a point actually where he even says, "Why are you putting on so much makeup and you look like this character or this actress?" And it wasn't a compliment. But she got really upset. She got very prickly, but she was like, sort of in the end, like, whatever, this is who I am now. This is what I'm going to do, whether he likes it or not. So I really did like that, even though she, through, I believe, middle school is when she was trying to change herself and get his attention, that in high school, she came to just accept who she is, what she likes to wear. I really, really did like that. And she is a very fun main character because she does get very prickly. And it's just like, oh my goodness, like, rather than her get down the dumps per se that he's not noticing, she gets angry. And maybe that sounds bad when it's said that way, but I did feel it was refreshing in this series because of that. And another thing that was refreshing that I was going to say earlier is the themes, because I will say that with this manga, they don't just hook up at the end or anything like that. Like, there's things that come into play much more before that, especially with him. And I just really, really like that. I liked how I don't want to say what it is because it would be a pretty big spoiler if I said what it was, but the discussion that was between those two characters specifically, I thought was really, really nice to see in shoujo manga, and that this was more than just hoping that she gets to date him, that it was so much more to that. Yes, I would definitely say that there is still drama. There is still people trying to interfere and get her attention, even though she's like, oh, and I did like how she is very outspoken. Like, when she is determined and nothing is going to deter her. And I did like seeing her stubbornness through the whole entire series, though there are times as well where she is very transparent with her friends and that we see like she is struggling. She may get angry and she may be very stubborn, but she's still a young woman and she still just wants this guy to see her and notice her and just return her feelings back. Those were my 3 paperback mentions. Like I said, I didn't have Captive Hearts on hand currently, but definitely hoping to get that. For my digital manga that I want to talk about today is Crimson Prince. And it's so exciting because I actually forgot I had this. I picked this specific volume up, I don't know, it's been quite some time, but I saw it was for 99 cents and I was like, the cover is super duper cute. And I read the blurb and I was like, okay, I'm really, really curious. But the funny thing is I forgot what the blurb was about, because usually like when I start manga, I'll read the blurb when I'm about to pick up a manga, like purchase wise. And then when I go to actually read it, I usually don't ever read the blurbs. And I don't know why, I just don't. So when I started, I thought the main guy was supposed to be a vampire and was really surprised that he's actually a demon prince. And I was like, oh, I completely like misremembered that completely wrong. So I was a little bit bummed at first because for whatever reason, I'm not a vampire person, but I was sort of looking forward to him being a vampire and how that would play out. But that's okay. This read was very cute. I was very impressed. And even though like I said, I struggled a little bit at the beginning because I misremembered it, I really liked the main guy. I felt like when we first meet him, he is one way, and then as the story progresses, he's a different way, but not in a way where like he's Two-Face. Because the premise of the story is that this demon prince, he has been told that he needs to go to Earth. And when he gets to Earth, he needs to find this human, this person who has been like prophesy, however you say that, that person is going to more or less cause all this chaos and could completely destroy the demon realm. So that has been given his task, and he's got to go to this human school, and everything is going for the most part, okay, there's definitely some shenanigans that happen and totally throw him off. And he's like, oh man, what am I going to do now? But he goes to school. He was supposed to be in the boys' dorm, but he missed the cutoff time to actually get the dorm. And as a result, ends up staying, I think it's not necessarily with her, but at this old house where this young woman used to live. And their interactions are so funny. She is going to be the female main lead, and I really, really like her dynamics. I love the mystery that was surrounding her because she is just a great character. And when you first see her in the beginning, like well, not in the super beginning, but when she first meets our main hero, like, the sparks just fly off the page. And I don't necessarily mean like romantic sparks, though I will admit there is some romantic sparks that are going on, but not in your way, and not in a way, I mean, where it's very obvious. Like, just the Demon Prince, he's so cute, and just his interactions with the humans have been very different than from what he has been taught. So because of that, things are just like being a surprise to him, especially with this young girl, because I believe when he comes to Earth, he's supposed to like collect souls. And I admit that I missed of why he was collecting souls, but because of that, he's like, humans are this way, humans are that way, they all do the same thing. Then he meets this young woman, and she totally surprises him with her kindness. And that was part of what was really interesting, is because when she basically offers this stranger to live in her old house so that he's not out on the street and still can continue to go to school. And he's like, why would you do that? Why would you do this for somebody that you didn't know? And so I did love how humans are surprising him, and how they are not these mean, nasty people like he has been taught. Or that they're just extremely selfish. I mean, yes, obviously humans can be selfish, myself included, but that there's just so much more. So I really loved that running theme, and there seems to be like a low vibe, at least in this first volume, where it's like angels versus demons, and or at least it feels like there's going to be a big war, and there was just some very great mystery elements. So I was really surprised how much I enjoyed this volume, and I really wish it was in paperback, or that my library would have the digital volumes, because I would be very curious to see where the story goes. The art was so beautiful. I really loved the art quite a bit. Like, it was definitely what hooked me in the first place, and it was just a very fun read. I would definitely recommend this one for those who like paranormal elements and just a very cute potential romance vibes, and just a fun story about a great hero. And I suppose that those are all of my picks for the letter C today. I hope that you guys enjoyed them. I feel like I excitedly rambled about all of these, so I sort of apologize, but it was fun being able to talk about these and being able to have read all of them except for Captive Hearts, which we've already know I rambled about that for sure. But I would love to hear from you. What would you choose for the letter C? Would you have picked any of these out? Do you know of other shoujo manga that start with the letter C again? I would love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!